There was also something that you mentioned about buying 3 homes in 1 year. How did you actually do that?
We stockpiled our savings by renting out our primary home. I also didn't have to pay for housing in the US. So I was like, I have the money, I would have paid this, why not save it? We decided to get policies that are called permanent life insurance so they don't expire. We eventually accrued $40,000 in our policy that we could take out. And we also leveraged that to put some down payments on property.
What does generational wealth mean to you?
Generational wealth for me means I'm gonna build something and create money that doesn't die. God willing, the will that I have created where I have parceled out my funds to my kiddos will last to help their children and their children and their children. But realistically, a lot of families have found that their wealth is lost by the 3rd generation. So you have to really instill in your children, don't spend it all in one place.
Do you believe that it is possible to end homelessness through real estate investing?
Absolutely. One of the reasons I got into rentals initially was to provide safe and affordable housing. I want to provide safe and affordable housing, and I want to purchase a property every year that I can sell to the tenant. If you're doing the mission to provide the solution, and then people like me are educating the masses on how to get their finances in order, that will eliminate homelessness.
What does it take to be a financially empowered woman? And what can financially empowered women do together to change the world? A shocking statistic is that around 400,000 women in Australia are at risk of homelessness. And the cause of this is the lack of education about how to build a financial foundation, starting even before we first enter the workforce and well into our retirement years. My name's Dion Payne, and I'm the founder of the Financially Empowered Women podcast. I'm passionate about ending homelessness, and as part of that passion, I chose to look at the systemic barriers that are causing homelessness for women in the first place. The Financially Empowered Women podcast is designed to bring you the best experts from around the world to increase your financial know-how and give you practical and women-specific tips to overcome the challenges you might be facing, such as how to negotiate a better salary, demystifying super, or how to navigate a separation and ensure the assets are distributed fairly. My role is to provide you with the best information out there to change your trajectory and become a financially empowered woman, because you deserve it, and the world needs you more than ever to own your worth and help others to do the same.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Financially Empowered Women podcast. I'm your host, Dion Payne, and today I'm joined by Acquania Escarne. I'm going to let you know a little bit about Acquania. So Acquania is a real estate investor with an investment portfolio worth $34 million. She is also a financial coach, a hotel owner, a podcast host, and a life insurance producer. Acquania is committed to helping women find financial freedom and build wealth. Welcome, Acquania.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation.
Thank you. I'm excited too. Now, I have to just let everybody know that I was a guest on your podcast, The Purpose of Money, and we had a great chat. It was so much fun. Now, I got to know you a little bit from that and some of our dealings before, but could you give our audience just a little bit of a glimpse as to who you are, what you've been doing, and where you are now?
Yeah, I'm a mom, I'm a wife. I am a full-time entrepreneur, but before I was doing all that fun stuff, I was a diplomat for the U.S. government for 15 years, traveled the world, lived abroad, had a baby in Dubai, and had another one in Virginia. So we are a global family, and we love to travel a lot. My business, The Purpose of Money, is a platform that teaches women how to build generational wealth $1 at a time, through financial literacy education, a podcast, blogs, and actual coaching and real estate investment opportunities. And I've been doing that for quite some time. I started out with rentals. Now I invest in apartments, syndications, and hotels. And I am an owner of a hotel, hence my hotel owner shirt. as of last year. So I definitely know how to share strategies on how to get into real estate, but I also help my clients in the financial services space build their own path to wealth according to what works for them and making sure they're maximizing their dollars.
Great. And what I love about what you shared is that we're on quite a similar path. And you know, we've both been involved in real estate investing, and I've never been involved in hotels, but I've done a lot of real estate development. And there's one of the things that I love about real estate is the creative nature of it. I find that I don't know, some professions. I was previously a scientist, and that is quite, you know, straight, and you know that you do things in a certain way. And what I love about property is that creativity, the ability to negotiate deals, and to do that in a way where everybody wins. Has that been a similar experience for you?
Yeah, and I hope so. I've been investing in real estate since I would say 2012, only because we took our condo and we rented it out when we moved to Dubai. So we became landlords, not on purpose, but out of circumstance. My husband purchased our condo during the height of the market in the US in 2006. And then when we left in 2012, it was underwater because we had 2008. So we rented because we weren't in a position to sell that home. And then for 3 years, we saved our money as though we were paying the mortgage and allowed the tenant to pay down the mortgage. So when we came back in 2015, we had quite a bit of money that we could cash that we could use. So we spent 2015 and 2016 basically securing our path to financial freedom by purchasing 3 properties in 1 year and really facilitating security for us and our family. So like we got my mother-in-law a place, or contributed to her ability to get a place so she wouldn't have to rent in retirement. We purchased our dream home, and we purchased a cash flowing rental in Philadelphia. And that's where it all started. But I learned through that experience that I didn't really like being a landlord. The 3 years in Dubai, honestly, was a breeze in comparison to the 2 years we owned the cash flowing property in Philadelphia. And I was like, this is not for me. But what is? So I'm glad that I didn't give up. Most people would have gotten discouraged and said, to hell with real estate, I want to do something else. But I was like, no, I know real estate has the potential to build wealth. A lot of millionaires are real estate investors. I just need to find the right type of investing for me. So that's when I started to do my research, listen to podcasts, talk to people, and was introduced to apartments, right? Like the owning of subdivisions by groups of people who come together to form a company. But unfortunately, in 2020, during the pandemic, those were not really going on sale. So I had money that I had saved to invest, but I couldn't find a good deal. So another friend of mine who I met through Instagram, actually a mutual friend through Instagram, showed me how you could invest in hotels. And I was just like, what? Like, who does that? How do you do that? I've never heard of that. And it's no wonder because a lot of minorities do not own hotels and we're not the dominant culture in that space. So it was my crash course introduction because guess what else is happening in 2020? A pandemic where people weren't traveling. So guess what was on fire sale? Hotels. So I actually I'm one of those people who most people saw pandemic as chaos and crazy, and I saw it as opportunity, and I was ready. I was ready to invest. So 2020, I invested in a Hilton, and that was my first deal. But I haven't sold any of the hotels yet. We actually have a few of them up for sale this year. And so far, they've paid out dividends during ownership, which is what you want to see. You get a little bit of cash flow while you own it, and then you get the big check when you sell it. So I have sold an apartment syndication already. So we had 354 units in Orlando, Florida, right next to the amusement park. And that sold, and I got to see the fruits of that labor. So now I want to see the fruits of selling a hotel. And then I can tell you for sure if it's worth it.
That's really cool. And that was one of the questions I was going to ask you. Like, how do you go from renting a condo to actually owning a hotel? And so thank you for explaining that. There was also something that you mentioned about buying 3 homes in 1 year. I'm really curious as to how to do that, because when you talk to most people, they would go, well, that's impossible. How did you actually do that?
That's a great question. So I already mentioned one way is we stockpiled our savings by renting out our primary home and still continuing to pay ourselves the mortgage as though we were paying the mortgage. Most people would not do that. Most people would take that extra money and buy themselves trips and other expenses. But we had the fortune of living overseas for 3 years. Our housing was paid for by our job. So I didn't have to pay for housing in Dubai. And I also didn't have to pay for housing in the US. So I was like, I had the money. I would have paid this. Why not save it? So that's the first thing. But the second thing actually goes back to one of my favorite hacks, which is leveraging life insurance to invest. So my husband and I, before we got married, we met with the financial advisor, we got our affairs in order, and we worked with someone to combine our money, because I was like way ahead in my literacy and my journey, because I'd been saving for retirement since 16. And my husband was like at the beginning of his journey, full-time job, finally making money. So I know I can pay my bills with no problem, but what do I do with it? So we got a person to bring us together on the same page. And one of the things that she suggested was life insurance, right? Because we were young, we planned on having kids, and we wanted the other person to be able to afford the house and the bills, God forbid something happened. So we decided to get policies that are called permanent life insurance, so they don't expire. They were a little more expensive than term life insurance that we have in the US, but they built cash value. So we eventually accrued $40,000 in our policy that we could take out. And we also leveraged that to put some down payments on property. And I've been teaching people how to do that same strategy ever since, because now I sell life insurance. But back then I was just using it for my own good. And then, wow, I was like, this is a great way to teach other people how to do it. And I've had clients leverage cash in their insurance to do other deals. So that's how we were able to do so much relatively within a 3-year time period, because it wasn't like we'd save for decades. We really just buckled down on our plan, leveraged our 9-to-5 jobs to do these things. And then we took advantage of this opportunity where we could live for free, but still save like we were paying rent or mortgage.
That's really cool. And I just want to bring it back to what you said when you were in Dubai. So you had somebody paying your mortgage for you, which was fantastic in the US. You were living rent-free in Dubai because your housing was paid for. And the thing I want to pull out of that is just that mindset shift of, okay, I've got all this extra money, woohoo, to, okay, we've got all this extra money and we're going to save it and really think about our futures. That's really cool.
Absolutely. And it worked out.
Awesome. And I love what you shared as well about how you were able to help, I think it was your mother-in-law, so she didn't have to rent in retirement, which is a pretty precarious position for people to be in, because I'm not sure what it's like in terms of where you are in the US and the area that your mother-in-law was in at that time. But the sort of prevailing wisdom in Australia is that you own your own home by the time you retire. And that just enables you, that means that you don't have to be paying out for rent. And it means you can have a more comfortable retirement. Is it a similar kind of thing in the US as well?
Yeah. So that's the goal, right? Like in the United States, you hope to get married young and you buy a house together, you raise your kids, you pay off that mortgage while your kids are growing. And then by the time you retire, your mortgage is paid in full. That is the ideal scenario. Unfortunately, that's not my mother-in-law's story. And that's not a lot of parents' stories, depending on their education, how much they earned in their lifetime and where they are financially. So my mother-in-law is an immigrant from Haiti who came to the US at 19 years old, married someone significantly older. And then my husband's father passed away at 12, when he was 12. So you had a woman who raised 4 kids pretty much on her own. She had her village, though. Family members helped her, but she was a single mom most of their life. So when you compound that with immigrated to the US, didn't always make as much money as her children ended up being able to make because they got college degrees. She was not in a financial position to buy a house and have it paid off by retirement. And when we purchased the condo that she lives in Miami, her rent was going up every single year. And it was just starting to become expensive and not a nice neighborhood. So it was like, what am I paying for? So we came together as her kids came together, and sort of me as the financial whiz of the group said, okay, we need a better plan. What does this look like? And how can we all chip in? So we contributed to the down payment, but we were very clear about certain things, like you have to qualify for this home on your own. Nobody's going to put their credit on the line for you to be able to purchase a home. No one's co-signing this home for you. This is going to be something you have to qualify for all by yourself. I think that was the smartest way to do it, because then the financial strain that 2020 had, or any period after that didn't impact us because we are not on the loan, right? We have our own loans. We have our own investments. We're not responsible, but we got you in the door, right? We got you that down payment that got you qualified. And we still help from time to time, but we're just in a position where she was able to do it. And with her retirement that she did save, she can still make that mortgage, right? And we help. But yes, if in a perfect world, if she had the income, she probably would have purchased a home and been paid outright by retirement. That is what we all aspire to do. And that's what we're doing, right? But where I live, it's expensive. So our retirement plan right now is, hey, pay this off, sell it, and then move somewhere cheaper. But at least we could pay for that new house in cash.
That's a great strategy. And thank you for sharing that. And one of the other things that you mentioned as well was how you teach people to create generational wealth. And often I just find sort of today's culture really does seem to be about, give it to me now. It's all about what I need in this moment. And there's not that much thinking ahead. So how do you coach people to start thinking about generational wealth and creating generational wealth? And actually, the first question is, what does generational wealth mean to you?
Okay, great. So let's start with that one. So generational wealth for me means I'm going to build something and create money that doesn't die with me and hopefully will last several generations after me. So God willing, the will that I have created where I have parceled out my funds to my kiddos will last to help their children and their children and their children. That is the goal. But realistically, a lot of families have found that their wealth is lost by the third generation after the deceased. So you have to really instill in your children, don't spend it all in one place, because then if they do, by the third generation after your death, the money's gone. So how do we educate in the time that we're in now, but then also get people to want to save something for later because of this instant gratification mindset that a lot of people have? So there is a balance. There's a balance between being financially responsible for yourself and then being an example for your kids to follow. So I start with getting my son to tithe, just like I tithe, getting him to save a portion of what he gets for birthday money. But when he chooses to spend it all, not judging him for it, but also letting him know what the consequences are, right? Like if you spent all your birthday money in one day and next week you want money from me to go buy candy, the answer is no, because you spent all your birthday money in one day on what you thought was most important at that time. And candy is not a need, it's a want, right? But if my son needs something, he's going to get it. But if he wants something, AKA a PlayStation, he's going to save for it. He's going to hustle for it. He's going to work for it. He's going to do fundraisers. My son paid for a trip to Spain through donations from family members, friends, and fundraisers. He did purchase his most recent PlayStation by saving his money, asking grandparents, working for me and my company. So there's ways that he gets what he wants and he's motivated. And when he's motivated, he has a lot stronger connection to the purchase and a value for it, right? Because when he's mad and you take away his electronics, he'll be the first one to tell you, well, I paid for it. How can you take this away from me? Now, we still take it away because we are mom and dad, but we do have to say, well, that's a good point. You did earn it and you purchased it, but now we're taking it away because of the behavior you displayed. You won't be able to use it for a certain amount of time, but he always gets it back. But that's how I instill it in children. In adults, a lot of times they come to me, right? Because they know that they're not making ends meet, or they are making a lot of money, but they don't know where it goes every month. They're like, I made money, my job paid me, but I'm broke. What's happening? So I really get people to first, before we start talking about generational wealth, we need to talk about budgeting. We need to talk about, like, are you making enough right now to pay the expenses that you have? And if not, what is it that we can do to adjust your spending or your income so that you can? Because let's be real, some people are not making enough. So you either need to start a business, increase your education and skills so you can charge more, earn more, do more. That's the reality. And then the way that we jumpstart to generational wealth, I call it the fast track, is life insurance. Because life insurance is a small financial investment you make today that has the potential to pay out more than you actually own today, right? If I get $1 million policy for $50 a month and then I die the next day, they're going to write a check to $1 million to my family, and I don't have to have $1 million in net worth. So that's the best way to guarantee this legacy right at the front for $50 in the event something happens to me. And the way that you get someone to accept that concept is you show them what the financial hardship would be if they don't make that investment, right? If your kids have to struggle to eat, struggle to live, can't pay off the mortgage so they don't have to move when you leave them, can't pay bills because they no longer have your income, that's something people can see. They're like, wait, no, I don't want that, So then you just say, all right, let's secure their future for $30 a month, $50 a month, $100 a month. If you want to get fancy with the strategies that I use to leverage cash to do in real estate, you're going to need to spend more than that. But that's how I introduce the concept. And then that's where I start, because most people, that's where they need to start, because they're still trying to budget and they're still trying to provide, and they don't have a lot of extra cash flow, and the economy is economying. So you have to meet people where they are. But I offer a lot of free education too. So you can catch me on Instagram, watch my YouTube, go to my free webinars and learn a lot from me for free before you sign up for anything, because that's what the Lord has led me to do, is to really share the information. And then those who decide when they're ready or can afford to work with me, they call me up.
Yeah, and look, I can attest to Acquania's free information. So I'm on your mailing list, Acquania. And the webinars that I see come up, and often they're not the right time of day for me because we're in different time zones. But you've had some really interesting ones, and I know that from what I see and from conversations that we've had as well, you're really thinking about your audience and what are the things that they need to know to be able to move forwards. So I really love that about you, and I just wanted to highlight that to anybody that's listening, that being on your mailing list is actually really well worth the time.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And there's always the replays. If you register for my webinars, you do get the replay. And so that way, my clients who live abroad, because I was in the foreign service, so I have a lot of clients who are in the foreign service, they will watch the replay because they're like you. They're like, I'm sleeping, but I still want to know what you talked about. And I'm happy to do that. But yeah, I definitely try to answer to what people are asking for and be intentional in that. So I do have a webinar planned out for every month for the rest of this year. Our topics are already decided, but as things come up, for example, a lot of people are being laid off in the United States right now, and they're trying to figure out what to do with their retirement money and how do they make sure that they don't use it in the wrong way or get penalized. And so I had a random additional webinar where we talked about leveraging retirement to invest, or what to do if you leave your job. And so there are things that I will do out of necessity because my clients ask for it. And I won't leave it just to only my clients. I will say, anybody in there who wants to see, come join me.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And now, obviously, you've had a lot of experience in real estate investing over the years, but some women find the idea of real estate investing a bit intimidating. What are some of the tips that you give people to just dip their toe in the water and get started?
So I do think it depends on where you are in your financial journey, what that start looks like. So for me, we had enough capital and a aggressive risk tolerance that to invest 25,000 into a rental made sense. And at the time, because I ran the numbers and I said 25K in this rental, the cash flow every month, we're going to get our money back in 2 years, right? Not even, probably sooner. But we were able to get a house that was on estate sale. So somebody who lived there died. The kids had no desire to keep this home. They were what we call motivated sellers. So we offered cash. We got to negotiate. So we didn't even really do 25K for my first investment. It was like 36 to buy the house in full. And these are houses that, were in a neighborhood that eventually would sell for 6 figures, but we could get in for less than 50,000. That made sense. But there are other people who are like, oh my God, $25,000, that's a lot of money. I'm not sure if I want to start there. So then I have other people who will get in by pooling their resources with other people. And maybe their buy-in is $5,000, right? $5,000 towards no more homelessness. Sounds like a great idea I heard before. So,
Thank you.
Your starting point depends on your risk tolerance. It also depends on your financial acumen, right? Like how savvy are you with your money? And is this money you can afford to lose? I always tell people, don't give me money you can't afford to lose. I don't want you calling me every month asking me about the status of your investment. If you're not going to be able to sleep at night, don't give me your money. Keep it in the stock market, keep it in your bank account, but don't give it to me. But if you're someone who's like, I can afford what I'm about to do, I have the patience to watch it grow, and I want to rock with you, then hey, here's the minimum. Our hotel deal we did last year, we raised $1 million in 6 weeks, or 4 weeks, actually $1 million in a month, and then 2.8 by 6 weeks. We had the buy-in at 15,000. That's the lowest buy-in I've ever seen for a hotel investment since 2020, right? And we did that because we wanted it to be accessible, but we also didn't want 1 million investors, so we couldn't make it $1, right? So we did something that we thought was reasonable at a time where, everyone else is like 50K, 25K to get involved in real estate opportunities. So your starting point depends on where you are. But the biggest thing you need to do is start saving money now and investing it too, because I've had people use money they earned from the stock market. I've had people use old retirement accounts and leveraging those. But you have to be investing and saving now. This money is just not going to magically appear unless you do have a rich uncle that leaves you a check, right? And then I think the second thing is being in the right rooms and on the right list. So I'm so glad you mentioned my email list, because I actually tell my subscribers, hey, I have this deal. It's open to accredited investors, non-accredited investors, everybody. I outline the criteria, and then I even offer my time to explain it. So if you do have more questions, you can talk to me about it. And I don't share opportunities that I don't invest in myself or wouldn't be willing to invest in myself. So I also have that integrity where someone has confidence that I know this is a good deal, and that's why I'm sharing it, right? Not because I'm going to make some type of money on the back end, because most of these deals I don't, unless I am the lead investor. There is no money to be made for me. It is literally just sharing an opportunity that I think would be a good investment. But everyone has to make that decision for themselves. Everyone. And then the third is to figure out your thing. So I knew from renting rentals that I don't like toilets, tenants, termites. It's not for me. Okay. It's annoying. Stressful, especially when they don't pay. And it's just not my cup of tea, right? But I can deal with commercial real estate because normally there's a property manager, commercial manager in the middle that handles the day-to-day. So at my hotel, I'm not changing sheets. I'm not checking in gas, but I do get to enjoy some of the profit after all the expenses are paid. That's what I like. It's more passive than anything. But I also invest in real estate investment trusts. I don't know if that's something you do in Australia, but we have real estate investment trusts. I also have stocks in the stock market, so there's more than one way to invest. There's more than one way to be involved in real estate. And as I told you, I tried a few before I found my thing. And I think that's what people need to do as well.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's really, really helpful. Do you believe that it is possible to end homelessness through real estate investing?
Absolutely. One of the reasons I got into rentals initially was to provide safe and affordable housing. That's what I literally wrote that down. I want to provide safe and affordable housing, and I want to purchase a property every year that I can sell to the tenant. I had this goal, this very ambitious goal, to literally be able to provide housing to people that wanted to be homeowners, that wanted to keep it. And I had 2 tenants that wanted to buy the Philadelphia house, but they always ended up near eviction or in eviction because something would come up, and one job loss, one decrease in income wrecked their budget. One. So I learned from that you can have all the desire in the world to provide the affordable solution, but people need to have their finances in order to be able to get it. And so that's why I put so much effort into financial coaching and financial education and budgeting and free resources so that people can walk away being able to get over that 1 month of no income and still be able to keep their house, right? And so if you're doing the mission to provide the solution, and then people like me are educating the masses on how to get their finances in order, together we can provide educated people affordable housing that they won't lose. And that will eliminate homelessness.
I could not have said that better myself. Thank you. That's awesome.
You're welcome. So let's do it.
Let's do it. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm really glad to be on this journey with you. Yeah, it's going to be amazing. Now, to get access to all of the resources that you were talking about, where can women learn more about you and what you do?
Check out my website, thepurposeofmoney.com. Thepurposeofmoney.com is where you can check out my blog, my podcast, and schedule a free consultation to talk to me about your particular situation you want to discuss further. You can also check me out on Instagram. That's my favorite place to play, at The Purpose of Money, where I put tons of free content about investing. I advertise my free monthly webinars, and you can also click a link to get a free consultation.
Awesome. Thank you. And I will put all of that information in the show notes as well. So, Acquania, thank you so much. It's been so good to have you here. It's been so valuable to hear you speak. And I'm just so looking forward to this episode coming out and all the work we're going to be doing together in the future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, guys.